Let's Talk television program, we share solutions to real-life problems with real people, showing how faith guides everyone through the storms of life. We talk about tough issues that affect all generations. Our conversations help you learn, grow, and lead. Help us continue with this great work by partnering with us today. Call 905-625-1278, extension 233, or visit letstalkca.org. We look forward to your partnership with us to change lives. Let's Talk, revealing the heart of Christ through engaging media conversations.
Sometimes you walk through life alone, wondering if anyone understands what you are going through, hoping someone will listen and offer a word to make your day. The Church of God of Prophecy offers unconditional love and support, regardless of what you are going through. Visit cogop.ca for a location near you. The Church of God of Prophecy, developing authentic disciples of Christ.
Good evening and welcome to another segment of Let's Talk. I'm your host, Woodroe Thompson, and it is a pleasure to have you join us this evening. The month of March is a very important month. On March 8th, we celebrated International Women's Day. It is also designated Women's History Month. Now, Women's History Month is a time to highlight the contributions of women to the events in history, culture, and our contemporary society. The theme this year, the year 2022, is Women Providing Healing and Promoting Hope. This evening, I have a guest who embodies that theme. She is the current executive director of Dr. Roz Healing Place, which provides emergency crises and care to all women, children, and youth emerging from abusive relationships with access to a safe environment conducive to healing and wellness. DRHP helps them to recover from violence, trauma through an integrative and holistic approach. Dr. Roz Healing Place provides emergency housing, support service and referrals, as well as various programs including counseling, job training, life skills development, creative and educational activities. I would like for you in your homes to help me welcome none other than Dr. Roz Roach. Welcome tonight. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you with us, Dr. Roz. Dr. Roz, you began your professional career as a registered nurse in the early 70s with a bachelor's degree in applied social sciences, and a master's degree in transcultural psychiatry with training in psychotherapy. Now, when I look at the stuff that you've achieved and the things you've done, at what phase in your life did you envision a place for abused women, children, and youth at risk?
As a nurse in emergency, I'm talking about the 70s in Montreal, working in the department, I often saw women coming in with bruises and pains and sufferings and challenges from violent actions and behaviors from their spouses or their partners, their intimate partners. And as I journeyed through my career, I paid a lot of attention to what I can do and how I can do it to make a difference in the life of women and children who have been experiencing violence. But about 35 years ago, working in Toronto, I actually transitioned from Montreal when I graduated from McGill University and got picked up by many recruiters around the country and outside of the country. I made a choice to come to Toronto. And why? Because it was closer to Trinidad. And because I can get to Carnival and jump in and jump out without noticing. So I remember turning down an opportunity in Vancouver only because it was so far away from the Caribbean. So I came to Toronto.
Right.
And being in Toronto, I was now a graduate and I was building my private practice. As a consultant, I was going into women's organizations to do work around staff development, mediation, facilitation, board development, policy development, and making recommendations for funding for these organizations. And every woman's shelter that I went into brought me a lot of pain and suffering personally, which I call vicarious trauma, secondary trauma. And this one day, I went into a little house on the corner of Brimley and Sinclair. And when I was leaving as a consultant, a child grabbed my skirt and wanted to leave with me. This child was about 4 or 5 years old. I remember asking for help to remove the child from my skirt. And we aggressively and forcefully had to unlock the child's grip on my skirt to take that child back to his mother. I came to my vehicle and I got filled up with tears. That was the moment. That was the moment when I called my girlfriend, who was a nurse manager in Toronto, and I told her I was going to close my private practice and raise funds to build a center for abused women and children and youth at risk, youth in the challenge, to make a difference. And I would not forget what my friend said to me at that moment. Her words were, "Why would you want to do that? That does not pay."
Right.
After all your education, why do you want to do that? I then remembered stopping the conversation and driving away, and then called my dearest girlfriend. Her name is Dr. Mary Lou McFedrin. She's now a senator.
Right.
I remember calling Mary Lou, and I said to her, "Lulu, where are you?" I was so desperately in need for a hug, or for someone to talk to, or someone to listen to me, because I was so overwhelmed with what happened at this little house, which I call the house on the prairie, little house on the prairie.
Right.
I was overwhelmed. And I spoke to Mary Lou and I said, "Can I see you?" At that time, Mary Lou's response to me was, "I'm presently at Women's College Hospital. Why don't you meet me at the McGill Club at the end of the day?" At the end of that day, I drove down to McGill Club, which was in the center of Toronto, a place that I had difficulty finding park. I'm a Black woman. This was a white, rich woman's club. Each time I go in, they thought I was Mary Lou's housekeeper, and I struggled. No, and that's a fact. Each time I go there to meet her, to have a chat, to a meeting, they really thought I was her housekeeper.
Right.
So we laughed about that, Mary Lou and I, at that moment, and she said, "No, please come." I went to the club. We sat in a hot tub, and I waited for the moment, and I said to her, "Lulu, I'm thinking of closing my private practice and raise funds to build a center for women and children who are survivors of family violence." She looked at me with her big blue eyes and she said, "Roz, do you know the magnitude of such a project? However, if anyone can do it, it's you." 7 years later, I raised $4 million and we opened the doors of Dr. Roz's Healing Place.
Wow.
A center for women and children, community, internationally, globally, and locally. And we've been at it ever since.
Right. I mean, it's amazing when you have a dream, and they say that when you have a dream, you have to be careful who you share that dream with, because not everyone can see it.
It was a dream. Until today, I'm careful when I say to people and who I say it to, because the question is always why? Why?
Yeah.
30 years later, I still get why.
Yeah.
And I'm driven from a different level. I think I'm driven from a higher level than mankind.
Yes.
And the things I do, one would say, "Why do you do that?"
Right.
I hear family members sometimes, extended family members that is, would say, "Why do you do that?" And they would not understand, but I do.
Yeah.
I understand. And I'm at it. So when
Right.
you asked the question earlier about how I do so many things,
Right.
I am gifted from a higher level, from a stronger force, beyond you, beyond mankind. And I believe it. So I have the energy, I have the health, I have the brains, I have the know-how, I have the will, I have the passion, and the work continues. And it does not fade away.
Very good. That is very good. So as you mentioned, you're the first Black woman in Canada to negotiate with 3 levels of government for $4 million to build Dr. Roz Healing Place. Now, as someone mentioned, that was not an easy process. What was that like, petitioning the government?
Well, I had to prove myself more than most. I'm a woman. I'm a Black
Right.
woman, and I'm
Yes.
saying that people don't want to hear me say, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying things that people don't even think is in existence. It was lonely. It was
Mm-hmm.
hard. It was tiring. And I say it was lonely because I basically did it without a board of directors. I did it independently in silence.
Right.
And it was tiring. But I had to really prove myself by working 2 or 3 times as hard and doing things that most people don't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and using my own credit cards and my own, oh yeah, oh yeah. And, and second mortgaging homes, and, so it was hard. But the question about what it was like for government, I made it
Right.
very clear that we are all people, and that we really, really need to pay attention. I remember sharing my thoughts before I began raising money for this with a politician, and his name was Jack Layton.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Jack, who was my friend, I asked him, please, Jack, help me. And that man really helped me.
Yes.
He helped me in so many ways. He made it possible for me to go to City Hall and to speak to council about women who are fleeing violence are automatically homeless. That homelessness was not only about sleeping on a piece of board on the streets.
Right.
That when women leave the abusive situation and they run for shelter, they leave their homes, they
Mm-hmm.
become poorer. It's harder to get work if they have never worked before.
Right.
So looking for housing. And Jack helped me identify violence against women as a housing issue. Just as I identify violence against women as a race issue as well.
Right.
Because violence is, for me, racism is another form of violence.
Mm-hmm.
The impact is so huge, and the impact affects, and it's long lasting, and it's a similar kind of signs and symptoms that one experiences when they experience racism. So
Yeah.
government was not easy, but trust. I pleaded with different levels of government. Please trust me, I can do this. And what I think people notice is that I gave up a lot.
Yes.
Clearly, there was a reason to do this work. So yeah, it was not easy. It was tough, but here we are today.
Yes, I agree. And Jack Layton was a good politician. That much we do know. Well, Dr. Roz, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
On the Let's Talk television program, we share solutions to real-life problems with real people, showing how faith guides everyone through the storms of life. We talk about tough issues that affect all generations. Our conversations help you learn, grow, and lead. Help us continue with this great work by partnering with us today. Call 905-625-1278, extension 233, or visit letstalkca.org. We look forward to your partnership with us to change lives. Let's Talk, revealing the heart of Christ through engaging media conversations.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. My guest this evening is Dr. Roz Roach. Dr. Roz, many terms have been used to describe the abuse of women, including wife abuse, wife assault, power abuse. You've mentioned racism. For those who may have never experienced or they're not familiar with this kind of abuse, explain to us so that we can understand that this is something that happens and how often this happens, especially within the last 2 years of COVID. I've read stats that talks about the abuse that has taken place now that people are in close proximity, they're working from home, and there are some people who are so sheltered, it's almost as if they don't live in the real world. You work with these women, you work with these children. Can you tell us more about the abuse that takes place in our world?
Well, what I can tell you is that it is clearly documented that 1 in 3 women have experienced abuse at
Right.
some stage of their life. Now, keep in mind that is documented. Keep in
Mhm.
mind that is only the people who reported.
Right.
I can tell you it's way higher than that. And I know that because in my private practice, before I built Dr. Roz's Healing Place, women and girls who would come to see me in private work and private therapy would say to me, "You are the only person I'm going to tell. I am not going to share this with my mother or no one." So when it's documented that 1 in 3 women have experienced violence or abuse in their lives, I know, and you know, that the numbers are way higher than 1 in 3.
Right. Right.
So
Now, why is it that some women will live with abuse for so many years before they'll break away? Some of them never even break away. Some of them lose their lives.
because people like us, society, we
Right.
judge them. We
Oh.
re-victimize by blaming them. There's so many reasons why women will not leave a marriage because in our faith
Hmm.
or religion, when we get married, we hear things like, "Till death do us part." So
Yeah.
women,
And
when they get
y-
married, they stay in these relationships for a number of reasons. But that
right.
line, "Till death do us part," a large percentage of women believe that vow and they
Wow.
stay till death do us part. We need to pay attention to that. Another
Yeah.
piece, another reason why women stay in abusive relationship, because they often think or feel that to leave the abusive situation, they will be depriving the children of a daddy or a
Yeah.
partner. Or, so
Hmm.
they stay for the sake of their children. Women
Yes.
stay in abusive situation as well because they become poorer when they leave. Because a lot
Yes.
of women who leave
Hmm.
the homes, they lose everything. Because you do know that when a woman runs, she leaves the abuser in the house or the home,
Yes. Yes.
and he stays there. And she's out there trying to find a place to sleep with her babies or her children.
Hmm.
Women stay in abusive situation too because society will judge them.
Right.
Society, and in some cultures, society will judge them. They'll be ostracized by society, even ostracized by their own families, ostracized by their mothers, who would say, "Why did you leave the man? He was such a good man. He paid the bills." But this is
Wow.
in some
That.
cultures, women stay in a situation because other women
Yeah.
will judge them
Hmm.
as well. "What
Right.
did you do to the man to make him beat you up like that? You must have done something wrong. Why didn't you give the man good sex? Why didn't you
Wow.
cook his food on time? Why were you watching soap operas? He beat you because..." So there are so many reasons
Yeah.
why we don't share these pains because we judge them, we look
Right.
down on them, we stigmatize them, we re-victimize them.
Right.
So why? And when they get into the court system,
Right.
the court further re-victimize them. So they don't report or they don't leave. And they would whisper to me. I can say to you that I hear so much and so many voices in my head almost every single day. And women turn to me for a number of reasons. One, they knew I'm a therapist and they know everything is confidential.
Hmm.
They also know that I have the power to help and support in what little or big way I can.
Right.
And 3, they also do know that I will never judge them.
Right. Right. Right.
So I get to hear the secrets that you will never get to know.
Right.
And I carry these secrets in my body, in my soul. And this is why I do healing work every single day. This is
Well,
why I have to heal myself because I do understand how destructive vicarious trauma is, which is secondary trauma.
right. Well, Dr. Roz, I personally believe you're called to do what you're doing because what you're doing is needed. It's essential. The word essential means it's something we can't do without. Now, as a marriage officer, until death do us part, that is not meant to in any way encourage a woman to stay in an abusive relationship. I've always mentioned, as a pastor, you tell me that, and I will literally come and help you move, because it is a shame that women have to be in a relationship where a man is abusing her, or there's any kind of abuse. That's just ridiculous. But I'm glad that you provide the kind of healing that these women need, and that you're able to help them to move on with their life, and not feeling like they're judged and that there's no place to go.
But keep in mind that my work is only a tiny, tiny dot.
Yes, that's true.
There are
That's
a lot
true.
of people like me doing this work behind the scenes around the country and around the world,
Right.
but still have not been able to eradicate the problem. And
Wow.
I'm hard on every other woman out there or man who is supporting this work and doing this work. They are doing it in privacy and in confidentiality and in secrecy.
Right.
But many of us doing the work, not just
Yeah.
me. There are a whole lot of us and a lot of men as well. I have a lot
Very.
of brothers in my world that support me. And Dwayne was one of them, actually.
Yes.
He's supported my work on my board
Yeah.
and making decisions for the
Yeah.
cause. Yeah.
Yes, he told me about it. You also work with children and youth locally, nationally, and globally. Um, when I think about children and youth, oh man, that breaks my heart. When you tell the story of this little girl that held on to your skirt, your dress that wouldn't let you go. Um, it's difficult to wrap my head around the fact that someone would want to abuse a child. I mean, abuse to women is bad enough, but children, they're children.
I'm sure you might be wise to know that there are countries in the world where politicians or individuals would rape a
Oh yeah.
child
Oh
to
yeah.
get political power. And
Yeah.
I worked in that country, or one of those countries. I had Dr. Roz Roach Place had an organization in one of those countries. And we saw babies who were raped and thrown at the roadside. You know, it's really hard to wrap your head around it, but
Yeah.
it's real. You know,
Wow.
and something we don't talk about is the issue of incest. You know, it's real
Yes.
here
Yes.
and there. And some people don't like people like me to talk because I say the truth. I speak the truth to the reality of the problem, what happens to our children. And our children are our tomorrow.
Yes.
Our children is really the next world.
Hmm.
And we have so many of our children are struggling in silence as well
Right.
with the bruises. If they are not abused, they are witnessing the abuse.
Hmm.
The And that
And
is just as bad as if they are punched or hit
that,
or kicked
that's
by
what
a
I
big.
was going to say. That's the scars that
Yeah,
you live with, the emotional scars, the
yeah.
mental. It's unreal. Um, Tell us more about Sisters Calling. What was the story behind Sisters Calling? I like
Well, I'll
that.
tell you a
Sisters.
story about Sister Scott. It's a big piece of my work moving forward.
Right.
About 3 years ago, I was lying on my yoga mat and I was feeling very broken and very sad. I was feeling sad that the world was going astray and women were being killed everywhere in the world. Women were being abused every day. I've had so many voices in my head from the cries of women crying for help and children crying for help. And I thought that I have been doing this work for 40 plus years. And I thought while I was resting on my mat, I thought I need to find a different way to educate the public about the impact of violence on women and children, about the impact of violence on individuals, families, community, and society at large. And there's a side of me that is very powerful, which is my artistic side.
Right.
My artistic side is it's what keeps me well. The
Right.
dance, the right songwriting, and the guitar playing, and the beats, and that's a powerful side of me, and the fashion and the
Yes.
theater. So I decided that instead of running around the world with a briefcase with a whole lot of papers and flip charts and overheads and handouts and brochures, I am going to write I'm going to tap into my creative side, which is so powerful and strong. And
Right.
I'm going to Sisters Calling. Sisters Calling is a riveting and explosive musical theater production aimed at informing and educating through the medium of entertainment. Sisters Calling is an anti-violence, anti-racism messaging production. Sisters Calling is a musical dance symposium educating the public about violence and its impact. Sisters Calling is a catalyst to spark the conversation and generate ideas towards an end to end violence and racism in the greater society. Sisters Calling is a call for brothers, for men to join the movement, to work towards the eradication of violence. Sisters Calling is Rosa's story. Rosa is an ex-resident of Dr. Roz's Healing Place, a center for abused women and children. So I wrote Sisters Calling. Just finished the album a year ago, waited for COVID to ease up on us so we can get on stage to educate through rhythm and beats and dance and theater and storytelling instead of overheads and flip charts and handouts and brochures.
Right. Very good. And I heard that you included us men in that. That's amazing. I love that.
Well, we cannot do this work alone.
Of course not.
It's
Of course not.
abuse of women has been called a woman's issue.
Right.
Abuse of women is a health issue.
Right.
It's a societal issue. It's a housing issue. It's an educational issue. It's a financial issue. And I could not do what I'm doing today without the help and support of brothers like my husband, who is my best friend for 44 years,
Right.
my son, who's my special project manager, my good friend's husband, and all the men in my circle who will do what is needed to help me continue the work I'm doing. So while it appears as if I'm alone or if I'm just working with women, that's not all true.
Yes.
I have my brothers around me. And I did mention Dwayne, who really sat on my board and helped me. So those are the brothers out there.
Right. Right.
Who help us make a difference. But they're often heard of or recognized. But they're good brothers with souls and souls without holes. And that's the theme of the production, Sisters Calling on Brothers.
Wonderful. Sisters and brothers. I love it. Now, I wish I had more time. Our time is almost coming to an end. We're going to have to invite you back because, man, there's some things you've mentioned that I'd like to pick up on. But you also have an artistic side, as you mentioned. Over 20 years ago, you began writing, as you said, using music as a therapeutic tool. And we also know that you're a prominent costume designer. You're getting ready for one of those that's coming up. You produce costumes for the carnivals. That is celebrated.
And I don't produce bikinis and bras.
Pardon me?
I don't produce bikinis and bras and feathers. I produce fabric and theater.
Oh, so fabric and theater. Oh, there you go. I love that.
I'm the only one who brings out the fabric and the theater. But I also want, before you leave, before you let me go, I need you to know that in 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be heading out to British Columbia to hike 300 kilometers across Vancouver into Burnaby, into Coquitlam, to bring awareness to violence against women and children.
Wonderful. That is amazing. Now, before you go, so as we mentioned before, I think that there's a special call in your life and the dream, the vision you have to minister to women and men. But you know, there may be a young woman or young girl watching us this evening or listening to us, and they too have a dream, but they're scared to step forward. They're scared to move beyond some of the things that's been holding them back. Very quickly, how would you encourage them to pursue their dream and their goal, just like something that was dropped in your heart and your spirit that you pursued? How would you encourage them to pursue that?
I encourage them to seek out a mentor in their community, because it's really important for that individual to draw strength and vision from a mentor. So seek out mentors. 2, remove that tape in your head that tells you you cannot do things.
Right.
Grew up hearing different messages in our heads, directly and indirectly. So
Yes.
erase that tape. throw that tape out and put a fresh tape on that. Say, I can do it. I want to do it. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't blink. If you want to reach that goal, keep your goal in your face. Keep your eyes on the ball. Believe in yourself. Don't let anyone tell you that, you look this way so you can't do it, or you talk that way and you can't do it. Just believe in yourself. Self-talk. Self-talk.
Right.
And keep on keeping on. But while you do all of this, self-care. Take
Right.
care of yourself, because along the way, you don't want to break down. You don't want to get sick. You don't want to fall apart. But two key things. Find yourself a mentor. We are all out there. We want to hear from you. And whatever we can contribute to you reaching your goal, I know that there are many mentors who work with me that, we will do what we can. So
Right.
seek us out. Secondly, when you walk on your journey, don't walk around anyone. Don't let anyone block you on your path. If they block you, two things you need to do. One, politely ask them to move, because you're on your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, just kick them down.
Dr. Roz. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Roz. I will certainly be reaching out to you because I'd like to follow up some more. Wish you all the best when you travel to BC, and keep doing what you're doing, bringing healing to people's lives. God bless you. Thank you for being with us.
Peace. Thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have for Let's Talk today. I hope you really enjoyed Dr. Roz. And as she mentioned, you have a dream. You need to pursue it. Erase that tape that tells you you can't. Woman, you have so much to offer a world. And so I hope that you will pursue that dream that God has given you, and just pursue that. That's all the time we have for this evening. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.
On the Let's Talk television program, we share solutions to real-life problems with real people, showing how faith guides everyone through the storms of life. We talk about tough issues that affect all generations. Our conversations help you learn, grow, and lead. Help us continue with this great work by partnering with us today. Call 905-625-1278, extension 233, or visit letstalkca.org. We look forward to your partnership with us to change lives. Let's Talk, revealing the heart of Christ through engaging media conversations.
Sometimes you walk through life alone, wondering if anyone understands what you are going through, hoping someone will listen and offer a word to make your day. The Church of God of Prophecy offers unconditional love and support, regardless of what you are going through. Visit cogop.ca for a location near you. The Church of God of Prophecy, developing authentic disciples of Christ.